welcome to TaNaCh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another episode of Learning Hebrew using the weekly Torah portion with our dear friend Gavriel, Aryeh Sanders. Welcome, my friend. How are you today? Good to have you.
If that were a book title, I'd need a really big book.
The interesting thing is, if I get, I do like the way I've got them titled, just from watching. You know what made me think about how to title my YouTube videos was I went on someone else's website one time looking for some. This is another person who's got like tons of topics, and I found the first two, and they had similar titles. It was easy to find, but I went for part 3. I couldn't find part 3, and I noticed I couldn't find about 4 or 5, but I found part 6 because they were all titled the same. And I literally had to email the person and ask them to send me a link to the video because I couldn't find it. I scoured their entire YouTube, couldn't find it. And so labeling everything exactly the same is helpful for a lot of people, especially if they locate a series, especially like this one, because every video that I put up for you is, that's the beginning, learn Hebrew using the weekly Torah portion, and then after that I'll put the weekly name or whatever. So we have only like 96 characters are allowed in YouTube title, or 94 or something like that. So once you get it figured out, you kind of got to stick with that profile. And if I scrambled around, and just like with Rabbi Skoback, what made me think was originally each time I do a show, I would just title it whatever that just hit me as oh, this is great, man. Why would blah 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 do blah blah blah? And then I put Matthew chapter 12, and then the next week I'd start off with Matthew chapter 13, and then put a deal. And it's like I realized I can't find them. They have to be in order somehow, and that's the best way of doing it, is keep the names the same and just with little subtitles. So, that being said,
I'm just glad to hear that as you age, you're getting more organized. Because for most people, it goes the other way. So,
oh right, I can see how that would be. Very good. Okay, so there we go. So if you guys are watching us live, that means you are members of the YouTube channel. This is a special members only live streams, and you get to see the behind the scenes look. Our small talk before the show, after the show, and that sort of thing. And so
take 7.
take 412, 10 seconds. You'll hear 10 seconds frequently, and you'll know what that means as we go along. So that I have to turn my volumes down. I just realized that. Thank you for whoever sent me that notification. That way it doesn't chirp through the show.
Since we're recording, I would say I'm in a class for the next hour, and I'll be happy to get back to you.
Okay, let's turn this volume off. All right, phones are down. Very good. All right, so if you're watching for the very first time, the way we'll be doing this is I will start off reading each verse that Gavriel chooses for the weekly parsha, and one verse at a time. I'll read it the best of my fluid ability. Gavriel Sanders will come back with a steamroller, flatten it all out, make it perfectly wrinkle free, and then that's round 2. Round 3, he'll come back and just do a actual word by word breakdown. No extras, no commentaries, no context even. Just what the actual word means with prefixes, suffixes, etc. And then on round 4, he'll come back and then he'll give us a grammatic breakdown of how to understand how the words are pieced together and that sort of thing. And then at the very end of the show, last 10 minutes or so, could be plus or minus, he will take that time to give us a little Torah knowledge on what the parsha is actually about and how it would apply to us in our modern world. So there we go. Let me see here.
That's a lot of information. So
yeah.
Let's go for it.
A lot on the tongue. Okay, cool. All right, so here we go. Let's get you rolling, Bubba. Me rolling, shall I say? I forgot I got to switch screens, don't I? 2 buttons here. Is this the right one? See, this is where, there it is right there. Okay, cool. Okay, here we go. Wow, that's a big verse. Okay. V'haya Eikev Tishmun, you'll have to correct me on that, of course. 8 hamishpatim ha'ele ushmartem va'asitem otam v'shemar Hashem Eloheka laka et havrit va'et ha'chesed asher nishva la'avotecha.
Beautiful. Nicely done.
Thank you.
V'haya Eikev tishma'un et hamishpatim ha'ele ushmartem v'asitem otam v'shamar Hashem Elokecha lecha et habrit ve'et hachesed asher nishba la'avotecha. V'haya, and it will be, Eikev, following, as a consequence, Tishma'un, you will hear or you will obey.
Objection, Your Honor. Question on Eikev. I thought that word meant heal.
But not in the context of
But
this verse.
we're not doing context. You're going to do that in the grammatical part.
Oh, shall we back up and do
Yeah,
10?
yeah. Let's do it. Let's do 10 again. See, now you guys
Do
know.
we have, do we have anybody in the live chat?
Yeah. This is cool. This is what makes it fun, though. So check this out. This is you guys will see this interesting now. For me, doing take 10 is like when you see in the movies where they have one of these. They call this a clicker board or something, where they go like this. They write the information on. They go. So that popping noise spikes the sound in the audio footprint, and so when they see this, and it boom, they can just look through the video and they can see that spike that they know exactly where that cuts at. For me, I take 10 because it leaves a silent footprint instead of a sharp footprint that'll blow your ears out of there.
I always wondered why they snapped like that. You know, you answered now.
Yeah.
Decades of mysterious ponderment on my part.
It would be
Thank you
wise
so much.
in some form if you look at this. There's information on there too. So when you click on that, you could get to that point of the video, zoom into it, and see what the notes were to tell you why they did that. And say, oh, I got to go back 10 seconds, and he coughed. I didn't see that. Whatever. So they can actually catch it after the fact, and you just write down what you need, and that tells you where to go using like a wax pencil. It's kind of cool.
The things you learn when you're a YouTube subscriber. Amazing. Okay. V'haya, and it will be. Eikev, heal, literally. Tishma'un, you will hear, you will obey. Et.
So the C prefix, suffix on that?
Oh, you want to talk about that? Okay.
Yeah, as you go through on this literal word for word on everything.
Okay, very good. We're not doing 10 again, though.
Good.
So, Tishma'un, the root is Shema. This means you, and these together mean you, and the nun on the end here means basically them. Tishma'un, you will hear. Et, untranslatable. Ha mishpatim, the judgments. Mishpat means, it can mean sentence or judgment. So ha, the judgments. Im, plural. Ha'ele, the these. Ushmartem, and you will guard them. This is from atem, you all. This is our you all suffix.
So shamar is guard.
Shmar means, or shomer, like to guard or keep or preserve. Vasitem, and you will do them. So again, we have this is from atem. This is a pronominal suffix.
So asa is the root word?
Well, if we're using it as a subject, it'd be atem. So it takes the tem, throw away the aleph, put the tem on the back of the word, and it means that I call it you all. And then the word here, otam, usually this would have a vav, otam,
So
them.
sorry, don't mean to drive this in, but I need to kind of understand this for myself. So, but
Yeah,
the word asa means to do, make, or act, right?
Thank you for bringing us back to the simplicity of a live stream.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. So we said here that the base word that you find in the dictionary would be shamar, and the base word for this one would be asa. Usually it has a hey, but the hey goes out to lunch
Nice.
in certain environments. So that's what it became asitem. You can
Perfect.
find more
Okay.
about that elsewhere if you write me.
That's great. That's great.
So you all did them, or you all will do them in this case. Otam, them. What does them refer to?
No, remember, no context yet. Just the literal.
Oh, no context. Okay, don't take 10. Let's keep
No
going.
10.
Vishamar, same word as here. Vishamar Hashem. and guard or preserve or keep Hashem, your God, Elokecha, lecha, to or for you, et ha-brit, untranslatable, ha-brit, the covenant, ve'et, so and, untranslatable, ha-chesed, the chesed is mercy, loving kindness, um, has other translations as well. Asher, which, nishba, swore, le'avotecha, to fathers, your. The word avot comes from av, which is father. Avot is the plural. You say, wait a minute, shouldn't it be avim? We'll come to that. Okay? So your fathers. All right, so let's go back a little bit and pick it apart further. Once again, as we've had all throughout this series, we're run into the vav hipuch, the reversing vav that takes a word, the word that comes after it. If it's in the past, it means future. If it's in the future, it means past. It's very frustrating
Not confusing
because
at
there
all.
are times, huh?
Not confusing. Not confusing at all.
Yeah, yeah, not confusing at all.
Oh
So
boy.
I don't know another language that does that, but it took me a long time to get used to that. Modern Hebrew, I was fine because everything lines up. Okay, it's a Eikev. We said this word means heel, but interestingly enough, one of the things I like about Safaria sometimes is when I clicked on the word and I double clicked on it again, it brings up a little dictionary over here, and you can see what it means. Now, what's interesting is what it doesn't say. What would you expect what word would you expect to see at the top of the list?
Heel.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it literally is the word for heel. In fact, the name of Jacob, Yaakov, right,
Eikev. Yeah.
comes from that word.
Nice.
Right. So if you put a yud in front of it, you could see that you have the basis for Yaakov. And why was he called Yaakov? Because he grabbed a hold of the heel of Esav, okay, when at the time of birth. And it also means becomes the root for follow. So, but in this context, it means sort of like as a result or consequence. So it's kind of inferential, but we're going to come back to why the Torah would use the word heal here. When we get into our little commentary section, I'm going to focus on this for a little bit because Rashi brings out something interesting about it that we should be aware of. The word tishma'un, we said it comes from the root word of shema. So if you look at it here, you can see it right here. To hear, listen, obey. And I'm not going to go through every word like this, but I'm just showing people that if you want to do your own word by word look, but you have to be very careful because, back in the day, I'm sure you did this, we all used Strong's Concordance, right? And
Yep.
we'd look up the
Yep.
word and find the number and go, oh, okay. And then we would pick the word that we wanted, we felt suited it best. It wasn't necessarily what the nuance was in that context. It's just, well, I like this Greek word, I like this listed, I like this one. And so, or with the Hebrew, also people will do that. And that's not, what's the word looking for? Exegetically honest. So this word, it's interesting that the Hebrew word for hear also carries with it the inference of obeying. It's not just enough to hear, one also has to do. And
Right.
what are we talking about doing here? We're talking about the mishpatim, okay? Which over here it's translating it as rules. I like to translate it as like the judgments. We're going to come later on at the end. We're also going to take a quick look at what certain words mean from the Torah about these different words that we're supposed to keep. Now, when the Torah wants to tell us, these judgments, in English we put these, a demonstrative pronoun, in front of the noun. In Hebrew, it's reversed. And notice also kind of grammatically here what we say. We say the judgments or the rules, these.
Right.
Okay.
That's always
Okay.
amazed me.
It's
Yeah.
the rules, these. So just like in Hebrew, we say, I don't say, if I want to say the good boy, I have to say the boy, the good. That's literally how it breaks down.
Wow.
So it's an alien kind of thing. I'm trying to think in Arabic also if that's what they do that. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah. El Yom al-Awwal, the first day. Yeah, okay. Arabic does that too. Um, Now we come to a couple of occasions where we're using this word that's based on preserve, keep, guard, ushmartem. Now, again, we have the power, the influence here of the reversing vav. We have it in this word, we have it in this word, and we have it in this word in this particular verse. So if you just take away the vav and look at the word as it's standing, that would be past. Okay. Shamartem. Shamartem means you preserved, you guarded. Okay. Asitem means you did, you made. But the power of the reversing vav here throws it into the future and says you will keep, you will guard, you will maintain. Was that we use it ever? Yeah, maintain. And you will do. Okay. Do what? Oh, Tom. This is a object pronoun, means them. It's masculine plural. Normally it has a vav in here, otam. Now, if I just were to look at this word, in fact, I'm going to do it this way. Let me just do this for a second and okay, and come back to it. Now, if you were to look at this word without any vowel points, no nikudot, what would you think the word is?
On a Tim, yeah, a Tim or
That's it. That's
yeah,
it. That's it. That's it. Right. You would think it looks like atem.
right.
So I'm gonna come back to that if you remind me. I'll come back to that later. Let me
Okay,
put the cancellation marks back on.
okay, cool.
And again, I'm just showing people this is something you can do with the text if you want to, improve your sight reading. You can have it with the cancellation marks, with the vowel points, but without the cancellation marks, and over here without any vowel points at all. That'll drive most people a little crazy. Got to be good to get that level. Okay, but by the way, I have to commend you, William. You've gotten really good in the last few weeks at recognizing where the accents fall, because that's really, really important.
That's cool.
And I'll give you in these two words here. Well, I'll give you an example. It's ushmartem, but if the word were actually in the past, it would be ushmartem. The accent
Right.
would
Oh,
be
wow.
here. Okay, the sitem, but that's not what it is. Ushmartem. So one of the characteristics, I'm just going to throw this out there because it takes a while for our brains to absorb the structure of this reversing valve. There are essentially, most of the time, I won't say always, most of the time, two characteristics. One, the valve is there. Two, the accent moves off of where it normally would be.
And that is the
Okay,
trope mark next to the vowel.
that's the
Just
trope mark that
if
you
you're
see
watching
here. Okay.
this and didn't know that already, so
Right. And I want to ask you one other question. Let's see if I'm going to put you on the spot here because,
okay.
we've got the live chat and people can either applaud you or go, oh, go back and do your homework. Okay. So why is the vav here? Why is this one u and this one va?
I was thinking
Good
because of
question.
the open syllable versus a closed syllable. I can't remember. Is that right?
Okay.
Or is it
Very,
noun
very
versus
good.
noun? Or I can't remember. I know it has something to do with one of those. I think.
All right. So the reason is because normally we study something called the bump letters.
Right.
Bait, vav,
Mem
mem,
pay.
pay. And if a vav occurs in front of a word that starts with a bait, a vav, a mem, or a pay, it becomes u.
Okay.
And two of the letters get affected. The bait becomes a vait, and the pay becomes a fay. Okay. The other two the vav is not affected, the mem is not affected. Okay. But that's one environment. The second environment in which this happens is if the first letter of the word starts with these two dots under it that are called shva.
Okay.
So if there's a shva and under the first letter, the vav is going to convert. In most cases, there's a couple of kind of waivers in this if it's a yud, and becomes ush. But it means the same thing. It means and. Okay. Now somebody might be saying, Sanders, that's like more than I ever wanted to know when I get up this morning. So could we move on?
Well, my question
And they,
is, what? But there's a shva next to it also in va'asitem, but that's a va, not a u.
okay, but this is well, yeah, but this is a
Oh, it's a vowel
chata,
plus. It's like
it's a chata pata. It's a
oh right. So it's not exactly just a shva. It's a shva and a patak that get combined.
yeah. So that renders this as
Okay,
a half.
I
This is a half
see.
half vowel.
I see. Very nice.
That's a half vowel. Okay.
Huh.
But you also touched on, wait, there's so much richness in this verse that you keep bringing out. You also talked about the concept of open and closed syllables.
Yeah.
Okay. And we see that in different places here. For example, tish, that's a closed syllable,
Right.
right? Ha, that's an open syllable.
Right.
Mish,
Closed.
closed. Ha, open.
Open. Yep.
Team, closed. All right.
Yep.
So those are things that people who speak Hebrew never think about this, but those of us who have learned it, later in or we're doing biblical Hebrew, we have to get that in our belt. Okay, so vishamar. Now notice here it was ushmar, but here it's vishamar. Okay, why? Because this is not, we don't have a shva underneath there. And so now we're talking about that Hashem, our God, your God. Here it's just so notice this that will preserve, keep Hashem Elokecha, and this is singular, your God. So now we're talking to each individual person. And by the way, for those that might not have thought about this, the book of Deuteronomy is Moses' last 2 months of life, summing everything up. So your God to or for you, what's he going to guard or keep for you? Et habrit, the covenant, the agreement, the et chesed, and the mercy, loving kindness, which Asher Nishba swore. This is a passive verb. I call them number two or nifal. Those of you that know the structure of the 7 types of Hebrew verb action, this is a nifal. Nishba le'avotecha. So we have harmony here between Elokecha, your God, and avotecha. This is also singular, so it's to your fathers, to or for your fathers. Okay, there was a lot in there. I hope it wasn't too much over some people's heads.
No, it's good.
But we want to get done before midnight, so let's keep going.
Okay.
Because we have another long verse here, and I'll try to be a little bit more mekutzar.
Okay, verse 13. Va'ahebka hold on. Uverecha vahirvecha uverecha uverech, excuse me. Uverach, sorry. Pre bitnecha upri admatecha admatecha. Gadan. That's a lot of weird words, a lot of weird phonetics going on here. Daganka, Vatiroshka, Vayitz Horecha, Vayitz Horecha, Shagar. Hey, you're a smoker cigar. Shagar, Alafeka, Va'astarot. That's interesting. Va'ash tarot. Sonecha al ha'ad ha'adama asher nishba la'avotecha latet lacha. That was tough. Lach, excuse me. Thank you. Good catch.
Okay.
Very nice.
Okay. Ve'ahavecha uverachacha ve'hirbecha uverach pri vitnacha ufri admatecha degancha v'tirashcha v'yitzharecha shgar alafecha ve'ashterot tzonecha al ha'adama asher nishba לאבותיך לתת לך. ואהבך, and will love you. Uverachcha, and will bless you. Vehirbecha, and will multiply you. Uverach, and bless pri, which is fruit. Vitnecha, from the word beten, which means stomach or womb. So in this case, your womb or your stomach. Ufri, and fruit. Admatecha, your ground. So adama is the word for ground. It's a feminine. So admatecha. Degancha, which is not fish. It looks like it is, but it's not fish. It's like your produce, the yield of your crops. V'tiroshcha, also it's agricultural term. We'll come back to this. V'yitzarecha, again another agricultural term. We'll come back to it. So all of this is your produce, etc., etc. Shkar, shagar is offspring. It's an unusual word. Shagar, but it's noun plus noun. So shkar alafecha, alafecha. This is another word not so common for oxen. And if you notice right here, aleph, the word aleph. We'll come back to that. Alafecha. So the offspring of your oxen. V'ashtarot. This is similar to shgar. It's has to do with flocks of tzon, which are sheep. Tzonecha, your sheep. Al, upon, on, concerning. Ha'adama, the ground, related to this word. Asher, which. Nishba, swore. La'avotecha, to, for, fathers, your, singular. Latet, to give. Lach, to or for you. Okay, let's pick this apart because there's some interesting interplay between this verse and the previous one.
Right.
Grammatically. Okay, so I want to start with the obvious one, which is right here at the end. Asher nishba la'avotecha. Come to this verse here. Asher nishba la'avotecha. It's the same word, same phrase, which he swore to your fathers, which he swore to your fathers. But there's a little bit of addition on the end here. Ve'ahevcha. So the root here is love, ohev. And so here they've translated favor. Okay. I'm not a big fan of the translations that I find in Sefaria, but we keep it here just to make it easier for people. I rarely ever look at it. So it says here, and will love you. Now, if I take away the vav, it's just going to be, and say ahav. I don't want to use that word because that's vav ha'ipuch. But the basic word ahav, this is how you find it in the dictionary, means love, or in modern Hebrew can also mean like. It's a nuanced word. This cha on the end here is you singular. So basically saying, now, this is one of the curious things that Hebrew does, where it will collapse, 2, 3, sometimes 4 words down into one word. And so this is basically saying, and he will love you, all in one word. And then we go on to the next one, similarly structured. We have here, say, the vav and the cha, which means you singular. Here it is again, vav and the cha, you singular. Here it is again. Okay. Here we don't have it. Okay. Here we just have the ending. Okay. Over here we have just the ending. Okay. Actually, the vav starts here. It's a compound word. We have it here. 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 And this is technically the same. All of those are speaking to the individual, you, singular. So God is loving you. God is blessing you. God is multiplying you. If you know the word harbe or rabah, those are related words. Have to do with expansion, multiplication. And again, it comes back to your uverach. Now, this is a phrase. All of this here is one long big phrase where he's blessing pri vitnecha. Please remind me at the end, if you just make a note, William, to come back to this phrase for a second because it has something, let's say, missiological that we could reference. Okay. I'm just noticing it because. So here we have this long phrase that what's being blessed? Fruit. This is from the word peirot, or the singular word is pri, and that's for singular fruit. Peirot is the plural. If you were to transliterate the letters from peirot into English and change the P to an F, you have the word fruit, by the way. Very interesting how that
Yeah,
works. It's one of
nice.
those interesting words that does it. It's not an accident, by the way. Vitnacha, so beten, it means which just means your stomach or your womb. Ufri ad matecha. So again, we have fruit, individual fruit of your land. Dagancha. So dagancha, from the word dagan, this is something that comes. This is a produce that comes from your soil. Well, doesn't everything? Excuse me, pre-vitnacha, produce from soil. Dagancha is the new grain, okay? Because there's old grain and there's new grain. The tiroshcha has to do with here. It talks about tiroshcha v'yitzarecha. Talks about wine and oil. Now, it's tirosh is a synonym for the word yain, but tirosh could also be not just wine; it could be grape juice. Okay, it's more of a general term as opposed to specifically fermented beverage. In fact, here in Israel, we have a brand of grape juice that's called what? Tirosh. That's what it's called.
That's cool.
V'tiroshcha. And we said to you before that shagar alafecha or shgar alafecha. There's a reason why it's shgar. I don't want to go into it right now. Shgar alafecha. We look over here. We see it's called the calving. Have you heard? It's really kind of offspring is also. You can click on it and look at it. Ashtarot has to do again, just like this is parallelism. Just as we have offspring of oxen, we have another word that also is related to offspring. Here it says lambing, but it's offspring of your sheep, basically. So we have offspring of the oxen, offspring of the sheep. Al ha'adama, upon concerning about, in this case it's on, ha'adama, the land, which swore, which he swore, excuse me, which he swore to your forefathers to give to you. Now, I wanted to, let's see, there was something that came up here between this verse and that verse. What was it? I wanted to look at. Shachachti. Okay. Did you ever wonder why this says lach and not lecha?
Well, I knew that, like there was the feminine versus masculine. Is the only thing I could think of.
Right. So this is not attempting to be gender neutral. This is something that happens frequently at the end of a verse. So at
Okay.
the end of verses, there's often, not always, but frequently, there's a change in the accentuation of the final syllable, depending. And that's why this is really lacha, but because it's the cantillation of it. Remember, how was the Torah? Did people have volumes from Art Scroll and Feldheim on the shelves of their books as they're running around in their tents in the Mitzrayim? No. So how did they make the Torah their own? How did they, put it upon their hearts? Well, there was a melody to it. They learned the song. In fact, Moses calls in the Deuteronomy. He talks there. We have the song of the sea, right? Shirat Hayam, and there are other songs. People learned the cantillation, and that's how they did it. Their mental acuity was very, very sharp, much better than ours. Okay, some of us get up in the morning, we can't remember what did I eat for breakfast yesterday. We don't know. So this is one of those cases where I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, I'm listening to Dr. Gabeline, Dr. Paul Gabeline at Fuller Theological Seminary, where I studied. Oh, we studied back in the mid '80s, and he would always talk to me about this is the second strongest accent, a pausal accent at the end of the verse. Because he and I used to sit on his couch in his place in Santa Monica and just read texts, because that was my class.
That's
Just him and me. It was great.
nice.
All right. So, is there anything else I want to say about this particular verse? No. A whole lot of agriculture and animal husbandry going on here. But you'll remind me to come back to that. Okay, let's see if we can get through a couple more here.
Oh, sorry. That's my cue. Okay, here we go. Baruch Tihye Michal Ha'amim Lo Yiyeh Becha Achar, excuse me, Akar, Akra Uviv Uvehemtecha.
Lovely. Good job.
Thank you.
We served you up a short verse for a change.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you've ever tried to watch one of my videos and it says members only, that's only temporary. All my videos are free. They eventually become public. But if you want immediate, unedited access with limited ads, you'll have to join the YouTube channel for $5 a month. This can only be done through YouTube. Also, if you have found this channel helpful and this has blessed you or your family members in helping bring you out of idolatry, I would love to have your support. Please consider donating to this channel directly. That would pretty much make you a partner in this journey, and that would be pretty awesome. Donations can be done through PayPal, Patreon, or through snail mail. The links to all are added in the video description below. You can also click this link and it will take you straight to my website with a donate button, which leads you right through PayPal. Thank you once again for your kindness and consideration for supporting this work. Blessings for you, your family, and your home. Shalom.
Lovely. Good job.
Thank you.
We served you up a short verse for a change.
Thank you.
Okay. Baruch tihyeh. Let me take 10. I want to say that one over again.
Okay.
End of the day, my voice gives out.
It's all right. No problem. So 10.
All right. Nice job, William. Baruch tihyeh mikol ha'amim lo yihyeh v'cha akar v'akara uvivhemtecha. Baruch, blessed. Tihyeh, you, singular, will be. Mi kol, from all. Ha'amim, the peoples. Is people. This is peoples. Lo yihyeh, no or not, there will be. Yihyeh. V'cha, in you, among you, upon you. Akar, barren, this is barren male. V'akara, it's a barren female. What do they say over here? Sterile. Uvivhemtecha, and among, in, with. The word here is behema, which is a word for animal, usually domesticated animals. Hemtecha, it's feminine, so it's going to come out. That's why the taf is in here, not the hey. And it's, again, we go back to the singular you. So we're going to see in the book of Deuteronomy quite a few times where Moses is telling that the people are going to be blessed. This is one of them. Baruch tiyeh. In fact, this is a phrase that I say often to people when I'm in synagogue. So Baruch tiyeh. It's a blessing that we give to it. You should be blessed, basically. So you could, if you want to, you could adopt that as part of your Hebrew. So Baruch tiyeh. Well, how are you going to be blessed? Mi kol, from all, ha'amim, all the peoples. You're going to be blessed from all the people. And lo yihyeh. That's interesting here. We have tihyeh, you will be, and yihyeh, which is he will be or it will be. So in this case, it's going to be it will be, not will be. It's negated here by the lo. Not will be. V'cha, so the bait, which we see here also, right here, means in or with. This means in or with. In this case, among you is probably the best way to translate. Again, singular, masculine singular. Akar, it says more than one meaning. Here it means sterile or barren. And in akara is the feminine version of this same word. So this is no sterile males and no sterile females. Barren, as it were. This word also this is a noun and this is a noun, but also this can be a verb that means uproot, okay? But I don't want to go into that, but it has, again, it's nuanced. Uv, and, in, with, among. If we took this part away here and just stripped the word down to how you'd find it in the dictionary, it would be behema, with a hey here. But because this is possessive in this case, the hey turns into a taf, and we put the pronominal suffix here on the end to indicate who are we talking about, whose animals are we dealing with. Uvem techa. It's interesting that this is not, it's talking about, here they translated livestock. Okay, that's fair, because it's singular. Behema is a singular word. There's word behemot. In fact, the English word behemoth, right, meaning something really, really big, the English word behemoth is actually from the word behemot in Hebrew. So now we gave you two of them. Now we had the word for perot and fruit, and now we have behemot and behemoth. Okay, so I don't have really much else to say about that unless you have any questions about the structure.
Nope. Looks good so far.
Let's do at least one more.
Okay, sounds
I
good.
love this verse.
Very good. Vahesir Hashem mimcha kol holy
Hmm.
v'kol madve. I'm going to go with that. Mitzrayim haraim asher yadaat yadata. Huh.
Hmm.
Lo yasimam.
Hmm.
If you see mom, tell her hi. Bach vanatna bakol sonecha.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. That because that last one can be confusing.
It was confusing.
So you did well.
Thank
Wow,
you.
that's great.
Thank you.
Really, really great. Okay, okay. I'm going to resist the temptation to comment, as I go from word to word because things come into my head and
You get that on
to
stage 4, so you got that still.
okay. Stage four is coming.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Vehesir and will cause to depart Hashem mimcha from you, singular. Kol, all, holy, sickness. Vechol, and all. Madve, disease. It's a synonym for this. Mitzrayim, Egypt. Ha-ra'im, the evil, the bad, the wicked. Asher, which. Yadata, you have known or knew. Singular. This is lo, not, no. Yasimam, will put them. Yasim, from the word lasim, to put. Yasim, he will put them, mam. Bach, upon you. Untatam, and give them, word natan, like from the name Nathan, by the way, it's a good way to remember it. Give them, put them, bechol, in or on all, sonecha, your enemies. So, sone is the word for hate, and sonecha is your sonim, enemies. In this case, your enemies. Okay. Now let's talk about this.
Nice.
All right. So the Hesir, it's an interesting word. Uh, the word sar, it comes from the word lasur. Uh, the book of Tehillim tells us sur me ra. I think that's in Psalm 37, one of my favorite Psalms, for a variety of reasons. Sur me ra va'aseh tov. Depart from evil and do good. We used to sing that back in church. Um, depart from evil and do good. And here it's just Hashem is going to cause this to go away from you, depart from you. What is it? What's going away from you? From you, mimcha, kol choli v'chol madvei mitzrayim haraim. Every sickness and every disease. This word madvei. If well, let's just look at it. We'll just double click on it. Here it is, right? Where'd it go? Kol choli v'chol madvei. Here we go. You can see it right here. Notice that, oh, this is really interesting. Oh, I see why it is. Okay, I understand why. Because usually a noun that ends in hey, usually, not always, is feminine. But in this case, it's
Right.
not.
Okay.
So in contrasting the singular form of it, okay, this is the plural form of it. So the plural form of it would be madvim, but here it's noun plus noun. This is noun plus, it's a proper noun. Mitzrayim in this case, Egypt, okay? It could be somebody else, a person's name. But this is noun plus noun versus noun plus adjective. That's okay. I'm glad we looked at that. That's very interesting to me, anyway.
Yeah. Same.
Uh, okay, now let's go back here.
Okay, you
See,
asked me to
Hashem,
remind you about verse 13 eventually for
yeah,
Fitnaka.
we'll get
Okay.
to that. Yeah, because this is gonna be our last verse.
Okay.
Um, so Hashem's basically going to cause to depart from you any of the sicknesses and the diseases that the evil diseases that were in Egypt, which you have known. Okay, Yadata. By the way, this little dot right here is a cantillation. It's an interesting one. It goes Yadata. It goes down. So when you see that little one in the musical cantillation marks, that's one that goes down versus, they all they have different pronunciations to them. So that you knew this. He's not going to put it upon. He's not going to put it upon lo yasimam vach. He's not going to place them. This here is referring to the diseases and the evil Egyptian, the sicknesses and the evil Egyptian diseases. He's not going to put them on you individually, Bach. And it's interesting because that's really the feminine form of the word, but because of the accent involved here, it's Bach, it's masculine, but it looks feminine, which is a problem today. Untatam, and he will give them or place them. Again, we have this is a reversing vav, and he will inflict or put them. This means them. This means them. Bechol, in all, sonecha, from your sonim, your enemies, and because it's I got a plural ending on it. The mem goes away. There's usually a mem here. Sonim, it becomes sonechem or sonecha, and it becomes then your, as it says, upon all your enemies. These are a great set of verses in here that have a lot of promise to them that go back to some things we're going to talk about now. So let's segue to the
Okay.
last segment.
Good deal. Very good. So moving right on in now to the weekly Torah portion commentary. So take it away.
All right, so we're in the third of the parshiot in Sefer Devarim. Sefer Devarim, the word Devarim means words in this case. In modern Hebrew, it means things. Although we have a formal way of speaking, Shamati divrecha. I've heard your words. But that's a kind of a class over. That's a hangover from the classic Hebrew. Um, so Eikev is the second word in the verse, and as William pointed out earlier, Eikev literally means heel. It's an unusual thing. The Torah could have expressed this in different ways. So why is it telling us? Why is it inserting the word Eikev, even though we translate it like they do over here? You don't really see it in here. It could be as a consequence or as a result. So we could say, and it will be as a result of your obeying these judgments or rules and you've preserved them. So you've heard them and obeyed them. You've uh, guarded them and you've done them. So there's like three different steps that are going on in here. But the word ekiv, first of all, if it means heel, what is the heel? Your heel, my heel, is the lowest part of my body. It's the part that makes the contact first with the ground, right? You get up in the morning, get out of bed, your heels hit the ground usually first, and then your foot rolls down. So the heel is also, it's very calloused for most people. It's that the thinner the skin around it tends to be thicker and it can be more insensitive. So, but what Rashi brings out to us, the medieval commentary Rashi, is he says these have to do with the little things, the lowest things. So basically, there's an inference that the Torah is communicating to us that if you're careful about the little things, okay, with regard to the mishpatim, and you guard those little things, and you do those little things, then there's a cascading effect of bracha, of blessing that can come your way. Because if you'll take care of the little things, if you're careful in the little things, there's a good idea that you'll be careful in the big things. And most people tend to focus on, the bigger things. That's certainly true in Jewish observance. We start thinking about Yom Kippur, which is not too many weeks down the road from where we are now. And we start thinking about Sukkot and building a sukkah and having a lulav and an esrog and the things that we're going to buy and some of these bigger mitzvahs. or but there are small mitzvot as well. And so the Torah is telling us, be careful in the little things. Give attention to the little, because really the truth is, if you're, I think there's a financial parallel that Dave Ramsey or somebody like that would say to us, that if you watch your pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. And we have an expression in the Ethics of the Fathers, the Pirkei Avot, that says mitzvah goreret. I love that word, goreret mitzvah, which basically literally means one mitzvah drags along another mitzvah. So one mitzvah leads to another. And then the opposite is true also. There's the corollary to that is avira goreret avira, that a transgression drags along another transgression. And there's this domino effect. So there's a domino effect to the positive, there's a domino effect to the negative, And we all notice that, right? Isn't it true? You do something, you go, I shouldn't have done that. And then you do it again. You go, okay, then you do it the third time. And of course, from the standpoint of Torah wisdom, our sages tell us that after a person's done something the third time, it starts to become habitual with them. Okay, so we have to look at that. So, but the opposite is also true. We start to habituate ourselves toward doing things that are in alignment with the Torah's guidelines for higher level, higher powered living. So that's one thing I want to say about Eikev. Eikev has to do with, why would the Torah put this here? The Torah is telling us, get down to the bottom of things, the thing that's closest to the dirt, closest to the ground, okay? The lowest possible mitzvot, whatever those are, you be careful with those. That's what it's telling us, okay? So that's one thing I wanted to mention. Then in the next verse, it says, now I'm totally changing the subject, pri vitnacha. Okay, so I said that the word betin, it says over here, can also mean womb. And I did a study on this a number of years ago. I might still have the PDF of it. And if I do, you want to write me, and again, I'll be happy to send to you. But how many times have you had a well-intending evangelical or a messianic say to you, don't you see in Genesis 3:15 that there's a hint of the virgin birth there? And it talks about the seed of the woman, okay? And it uses that phrase. Certainly we've listened to and seen Rabbi Singer talk about this all the time. He uses the word zara, that Hashem's going to put enmity between the seed of the serpent and zara, her seed. And of course, people jump on that and say, well, women don't have seed; they have eggs. So if it says seed, this is a hint of forecast of that. So problem is that the word seed, which is only used in the singular, representing either sperm or seeds that you put in the ground, it's a mass noun. Outside the Torah, outside TaNaCh, it's used in the plural, but inside TaNaCh, it's not. I did, because I did a word study on it, I wanted to be sure, saw it. And so we see that with respect to Hagar, it talks about Zarech, your seed, and it comes up in the book of Leviticus. We have a whole parsha called Tazria, Ki Isha Tazria, when a woman seeds, basically means when she conceives. So obviously the word comes up again in another context, same word as you see in Genesis 3:15. And then here's a flip side of it. Here we have the word pri vitnacha, so it's womb, but note what's the ending here? It's a masculine singular pronoun, basically. It's a pronominal suffix, okay? It goes on the end of the word in this case. So it's saying here, is it saying the womb of a guy? No, it's a general term, okay? So if you're going to argue it the other way, that the word zera, zara, with the mapike, the dot and the hey at the end of it, is something unique, then you have to say, oh my gosh, your men are pregnant. Now I'm not going to go down that line of insanity that we have today in the common culture. That's another issue altogether. But we talked about this several years ago, where we went through and we detailed that. So that's just one thing I wanted to mention here. That's just sort of unusually. There we go. It's an anomaly that jumps out at us from the text. Another thing I wanted to do really quickly with you all is just to touch on this subject. Well, first of all, if you like to hear the Torah read out, then take a screenshot of this particular long URL here, and you can listen to Rabbi Dan Be'eri read the different books of the Torah there in beautiful, beautiful Hebrew. It's just a nice thing to have going on in the background if you want to condition your ears. But what I really want to go back to is just to talk about what do these terms mishpatim, chukim, edot, and mitzvot, what do these terms mean? We talked about this a long time ago, but you may not have caught that particular session. And because it comes up in the verbiage, the language of this verse, the first verse here of the Torah, we want to take a look at that. So in Torah law, the terms mishpatim, chukim, edot, and mitzvot refer to different categories of commandments. They all have different characteristics and their purposes. So here's a breakdown. We're going to look at them here. Here's what mishpatim are about. These are things that are more general, logical, ethical. So you can see what I'm not going to read all this down here. You can see it for yourself. And we have some examples over here also of that. The next slide, which has to do with chukim. These are statutes and decrees that are divine commands without an explicit reason, okay? They're sometimes called statutes and decrees. If you look in Psalm 119, you'll see this comes up several times. And these are really acts of faith. There's the things that we do, especially in the Jewish world. They're a form of commandment that we're told to do because Hashem wants it. Now, I know some of you who had tough parents are hearing an echo in the back of your ears, because I said so. All right, no. It's not abusive in that sense, But there are times in a relationship where you do something for somebody just because it's how they like it, right? So it's possible that a spouse wants the knife pointing this way when you set the table as it pointing that way. Is there a logical reason behind it? No, it's just and you do it because you care and you love. And so the chukim give an opportunity to express love without a whole lot of logic behind it. And an example of that would be some of the kosher laws or the red heifer, which we have several of not too far away from where I am now, just up the road. And edot or edot are commandments that are meant to serve as reminders. And those are sometimes time generated, like putting on tefillin or the Passover Seder or the Sabbath, observing the Sabbath. Edot has to do with the word for signs, like the word ot. So edot are often signs. And the last one here, just the general term mitzvot. These are all the ones that I just said. The mitzvot encompass the mishpatim, the chukim, and the edot. They're all subsumed or subcategorized under the idea of a mitzvah. And the mitzvah, if we haven't talked about this before, or you haven't heard it with us before, the root meaning of the word mitzvah, the root tzadi, vav, hey, has to do with joining or connecting something. So the mitzvah that I perform, whether it's one of the 6 mitzvot of remembering things every day, or something I might physically do, or the act of prayer, tefillah, which is a mitzvah. All of these different things are connection points. So I don't like to call them so much like the 10 commandments, or some people call them demandments. I like to call them the 10 connections, or the 613 connections, or when we're talking about the Noachide movement, the 7 connections. What's Hashem's prescription for how we connect to Him? So that's what these are, and the purpose is it covers the full spectrum of both, let's say, liturgical, ethical, ritual obligations. Everything is kind of encompassed in that. So that's just, if you were a little confused about how these technical terms lay out, then that gives you a little bit of understanding that. So in summary, while mitzvot is the broad term, these describe specific categories within this broad term. Each has its own unique rationale and purpose to it. So that's that on that. Any
right.
any comment or anything interesting happening in the chat I should know about?
Nope, just a lot of people enjoying our banter. It's been fun. Well, we only had a few people dropping in, but that's okay. It's a lot of fun. Michael Martell was one of my mods. He was here today, and a couple other friends popped in. So very cool. All right, my friend. I forgot to switch screens. There we go. Now we're cooking. That's better. Okay, well, we'll call.
Next week we'll jump into Parshat Re'eh, which has to do with seeing.
Yes.
So this Parsha we talked about hearing, im Eikev Tishma'on, and excuse me, im Haya Eikev Tishma'on. Next week we'll talk about seeing. So there's stay tuned.
Very
And
nice.
we'll see you next week.
Very good. Take care. Shalom, everybody.
Hello, my dear friends. Hope this message finds you well. If you like the way this channel is going and the channel has been a blessing to you, please consider supporting the channel by going to the website, TaNaChTalk.com. TaNachTalk.com. Thank you once again for your time and for supporting TaNaCh Talk. Shalom.
אני אתה אתם תמיד תמיד כולם ביחד חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד איפוק זו העוצמה ויתור זו הגדולה השאיפה